Well, good morning, everyone. I think for those of you who know me, you know that talent is really one of my great passions. And so when Mona asked me to present with this incredible panel, I was delighted to accept. We have some fantastic people here to join us this morning. And to start with, I'd like to invite Professor Scott Richardson, the Academic Dean of La Roche Hospitality Academy from Abu Dhabi, to join us. Please, Professor Scott. Professor Scott holds a PhD from Griffith University, a fellow Australian, and really your studies have been really remarkable. So thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
A lady who probably doesn't need a lot of introduction, an absolutely incredible career, Ellen Dubois du Bellay. Please join us. Of course, Ellen is the Chief Human Resources Officer, currently of Dubai Holding Entertainment and Hospitality Assets. She had an incredible career with Four Seasons and then joined Jumeirah locally here. Ellen, thanks for spending time with us today. Also, a past alumni of HSMAI Commercial, James Britchford, please come on out. I love James's story. I think many of us would like to cross from commercial to operations. James is now Head of Operations for IHG Premium, Essentials and Suites in MEA, and was the former chairman of our board for HSMAI. Thank you, James. Now, last but not least, a young gentleman I'm very thrilled to introduce you to this morning. I've flown him over from Geneva, Kempinski head office, because Sebastian Martinez now leads our revenue division over there in Geneva with Carolyn Coppenat, and at 25 years of age is our Gen Z on the panel. Nice to have you, Sebastian. If I could invite you to sit down, and before that we start a little bit of chatter this morning, I stumbled across a very cute clip that I thought might break the ice for us, and we'll watch that now.
I DM'd him and I was like, I'm low-key offended. Why are you following me?
You said low-key offended? You said that to him?
You can't DM someone on a list. They're not following you. He's lying.
No, Jimmy.
What, Jimmy?
Jimmy.
Wait, that didn't show how old I am?
You showed his age there.
Okay. I think you have to follow each other for DM.
No, you can DM anybody.
You DM anybody?
Jimmy, stop. You stop.
I'm not even on that. I'm on Be Real now.
Do you know what?
I mean, I think we've all been through moments, haven't we, where we're really not quite sure what the Gen Zs are talking about, but we pretend we do know. But anyway, look, panel, I'm so excited to get into this topic a little bit. And I'd like to start with, what value does diversity add to our organisational culture? And how does it affect performance in our organisation if we're able to embrace age diversity? And if I may start with you, Professor.
Thank you. Look, I think diversity is key to moving forward. It's a key to bringing innovation into our organisations, bringing new ideas in. But it also, we need diversity for our younger members of staff to obviously be mentored by people that have been in the industry for a while. So that communication is vital to make sure that we are moving forward and that we're really embracing innovation. And we heard a lot yesterday about AI and about how things are changing.
Yes.
And obviously our millennials, our new staff that are coming into the industry are the ones that are embracing that. So I think that communication is definitely very, very important.
And just to give the audience a little bit of a sense of your day-to-day, how does that weave into the educational process at La Roche?
Yeah, so obviously our role is to educate the new generation of hoteliers that are coming out into the industry. La Roche embraces innovation. We have a project that students do right throughout their career through their degree called the Spark Project, which we work directly with our industry partners to look at new innovative products, new innovative services that the hotel industry is looking to implement. And we work directly with our students to help the industry to develop those ideas. So we really are embracing innovation. The educational industry has been upended by AI like everyone else. We're currently looking at how do we make sure that our students are doing the assessments that we set them.
Yes.
Let's be honest, no student is ever writing a 3,000 word assignment ever again.
No.
Why would you? You go to ChatGPT, it's a beautiful 3,000 word assignment, fantastic. So we need to look at how we can embrace AI, how we can make sure that our graduates understand AI and can bring that experience out to the industry. So innovation definitely very, very key.
No, very, very good. And I thought such a reputation, the school we know very well, and having brought that to the region is extremely exciting. And Ellen, I know you've hired people in your 3 incredible companies you've worked for over the years. What's your thoughts on this age sort of divide, or at least let's say the opportunity to get the best from all age groups across your organisation now?
Well, I think, can you hear me? Yeah, it's on, yep. So, Amanda, I think we're actually very lucky in hospitality in that, this statistic around 55% of older people are not talking to the younger generation. I think in our hotels and in hotel companies, we do that every day. So we're not too far removed from our people, I think. So we have the opportunity to see them. So I don't know that applies to us necessarily. I will say, though, that it is really important for young people to feel that they have agency. To feel that to the point, I think that was raised, that they know what their role is in the larger organisation. And I think hotel companies need to be very intentional about communicating and reminding the young people of just how important their role is. Most of the time, I say this quite often, but in a large hotel, there's up to 6,000 moments of truth in a day, and 70% of them are unsupervised. And so if our most junior people, our new people, our young people don't feel that they have a say, and we don't remind them of just how powerful they are in the guest experience, then they can feel disenfranchised. I have a son who, after college, went to a hotel company, and I think he was so traumatized he will never work in hotels again.
Really? Gosh.
Because he and it's very important that we don't forget, he just became a number of a lot of people, lost in the basement, wearing bad shoes, working overtime, not getting any recognition, and he sort of said to me, gosh, why would anybody do this?
Right.
And so it's really so important that we spend the time and the effort to ensure that people who are joining our industry feel seen and heard.
Yes, and I pick up on really that first sentence that you said, where in some instances we're not guilty of a problem, we're not even seeing a problem, it isn't a problem, and yet we have stories such as this. So I think our industry has a lot of opportunity to embrace. But James, I know IHG as well really focuses on this and retention of talent, and we'd love your views.
Well, I'm still recovering from the video because that was definitely my conversation with my 2 teenagers on a regular basis.
Yeah.
For IHG, we're a big global hotel group. We've got over 6,000 hotels running across many countries, many brands, and diversity as well as having a good age mix is absolutely critical. And to Ellen's point, we have that naturally because of the nature of our business. However, if it was a school report coming from Professor Scott, it would probably say could do better in terms of what are we doing to support our young talent to grow in the business. And this is something that IHG is looking very, very closely at. So we've put a few mechanisms in place to make sure that we are getting a lot slicker at accelerating opportunities for our young talent, because we want a diverse talent, a good mix of age ranges, because when you have that, you have great performance. So we have a program called Journey to GM, which is a 2-year program, and it's designed to accelerate going from X to Y, because historically, and I'm a Gen X, historically Gen Xers would probably be happy to wait for a while to get to where they wanted to get to, and we'd be happy to have the job and the paycheck. But what's wonderful about the younger generation is that they're ambitious, they want to move. So how do we have platforms that can unlock that? And they're courses, but together with mentoring, and you can't underestimate the importance of mentoring young talent to unlock the potential there. We also have programs called RISE, which is for our female talent across the world, which is a global initiative, because we recognize that diversity across our business needs to improve dramatically. So how do we work with our female talent? Not necessarily to become a GM, they might want to go into corporate office, they might want to grow in different functions, but how do we have mentor courses for them to do that as well? And then just to round things off, we have IHG Academy. IHG Academy is in 3 areas. The first area is what we call Discover, where we go to universities around the world to introduce IHG and tell people what a career in hospitality looks like. We have what's called Skills Builder, which is an online platform for someone that's interested in our industry that can go on and it's free and they can use it and get a feel for things. And then a third piece, which is around what we call Career Planner. And Career Planner is sharing those opportunities for interns or apprenticeships to attract talent, because certainly coming out of COVID, we've noticed that attracting great talent has become even harder.
And James, just with your exposure to the younger people coming through, are they curious that you moved from commercial to operations? Is that something they ask you about and realise that is a leap? I mean, I've done the same thing. I was a general manager and went back to commercial. Who knows why? But is anyone curious about that?
100%. And yes, I've been in the hotel industry a while now. I won't declare how long. But before that, I worked in airlines. I worked in tour operators. So I know what those cheeky agents do to our hoteliers when they're negotiating. I've worked in manufacturing. But what you find is that the industry tend to pigeonhole, going, well, that's a revenue manager, and that's an operator, and that's a HR professional. They're not looking beyond that in terms of the leadership skills required to grow. And you can't underweight the importance of mentoring that unlocks people's potential and what they can do, because there's always nervousness. You know, James going from commercial into operations, sure, you know, maybe for the first 3 or 4 months, I'm thinking to myself, I think I might have made a mistake. I don't know what they're talking about. But what you find is that you learn and you grow and you broaden your expertise, and then that kind of opens your eyes to other jobs that we can do. My reflection is, and this is what the young generation inspire me on, is they want to do it earlier in their career. Right. They want to be given those chances. So how do companies like IHG enable that?
Yes. And I must say, I saw Sebastian's eyes become very interested when you said the journey to becoming a GM, and there's a specific program. But Sebastian, what I love about your story is that you've worked for Radisson, Nordic, and now Kempinski. Just talk a little bit about the moves. You've lived internationally and how you reflect on the inclusivity of your career to date.
Well, I think indeed for a young professional it's very important to be able to move around, because of course young professionals want to have the opportunity to grow, but we also have to sacrifice a bit, and you must deploy self-leadership skills before you're given any leadership position, and move yourself around and put yourself in a position up for growth, right? So I think that's what has led me around in my short and young career for now, and what I hope it will lead me into the future. And I do indeed think it's quite important, the diversity in the workplace, because what you see a lot of times, especially in hotels, sometimes they have been doing the same for years. And when you have not different people, it's not only about age, right? It's about different backgrounds, yes. Different skills that you can interchange from different industries. When you get this mix into the hotel, then initiatives come in, innovations flow, and that's what really makes the business going forward. So I think that's a key in the hospitality industry that we must embrace.
I so appreciate and agree with that. And I'd always said to some of the people I worked with, if the Gen Zs could also see our perspective and understand what we'd been through, somehow that may be the perfect combination. But I just want to segue a little bit into this whole question of the working from home. Is it it something the younger generation really want to do? Is it really something about all of us want to have more freedom? And I think what I would like to ask you first, Professor, is how have you studied, your research finds the cultural angle of how do we build a team? How do we really embrace the younger guys and they know how to then interact if everybody's starting this trend of working from home? It may not be always in the hospitality industry, but many other industries are embracing it.
Yeah, look, I think it's very interesting. When COVID hit in 2020, and almost overnight, our students weren't allowed to be on campus.
Right.
And we had to go from being a fully face-to-face campus to a fully online campus overnight. Students were up in arms. They were like, what's going on? We're paying a lot of money.
Yes.
What are we doing? You're not teaching us. We're not on campus. We're not with our professors. But they quickly embraced online. But what we really saw in education, at least, and obviously we talked to a lot of industry partners, but from an educational point of view, when we started to come back to campus, the students couldn't come back quick enough.
They wanted to come back.
Yes.
Yes.
They obviously enjoyed the freedom of being at home, but they missed that social aspect. And there's obviously more to university study than just the study. And at La Roche, we say La Roche is not, it's a way of life. The students, that extracurricular activities, and obviously for the hospitality industry, we're not going to be great in service if we're sitting in our home working on our computers. So our students particularly couldn't wait to come back to campus. And so I noted Ellen's point with her son, and that's one of the things that we've seen a lot with our students as well, is in the industry, I think the younger people today, I don't think they're that much different to previous generations. They want things a bit quicker, they want things a bit better, but they really just want to be recognised, is what we've found. We find that our students, particularly students that are studying 4 years, they're spending 4 years with us.
Right.
They're spending a lot of money, they're getting a lot of knowledge, they're working with industry for at least a year to 18 months of that time. And when they go into the workforce, they want to be recognised for that. And quite often they're not.
Yeah.
They're treated as if they've just come in as if a new staff member with no experience, no skills. So I think that recognition is the bit that they want. And if they're recognised, and if they're then, James, you mentioned as well around mentorship. We've found as well mentoring, having someone to take them under their wing and actually show them the rails really helps them to embrace the industry.
Yes.
So I think the work from home thing, obviously hospitality is quite difficult. We've got guests, we can't work from home, but young people, I think they don't necessarily want it. They want that interaction. They want to come and be back in
Community.
Yes, I was just going to say, to me it speaks of a sense of community that you build within the team, within the company culture, and of course how does that translate to the real world. And Ellen, I wonder your perspective, because here in the Middle East it can be a little different to perhaps internationally.
Yes, and I guess I want to pick up in a moment, if I can, on something else that Scott said. But in terms of, I would like to change the words work from home to, flexible. I go back to this word agency. When I was, first in restaurants and growing my career in hospitality, I had no control of my schedule. And that felt like it was not a good thing. I couldn't wait to be a manager so that I could come in when I, felt that it was right to come in. It didn't mean I worked any less.
Yes.
Didn't mean I wasn't there, but it meant that if I had to, I could go. And so I think what we need to do for all of our people, young, old, in between, is give people the idea that there's some flexibility. And I think in most organizations we're seeing that today. The idea of working, I've always said, and I'm sure if there's some Jumeirah people here, they might remember me saying it, but until the lifeguard who's, at work in 50 degrees heat at the beach can work from home, then why should I? Just because I can. So there's an equality thing, I think, in hospitality we need to think about. But second of all, I do agree that people, people need to collaborate and communicate. And so if there's a way organizations can make it so that they get an opportunity to do that, then I think it's around flexibility versus a hard and fast policy.
I so agree. And you wanted to make
and
another point?
I guess I wanted to, and Scott and I have had this conversation before, but one of the things I think that we've done in hospitality has really failed our young people. And I haven't figured out, and I haven't seen it, be fixed yet. And that is this idea that somebody comes out of a hospitality degree where they've spent 4 years, they've done 2 or 3 internships, and they come into a hotel company and they get exactly the same training and the same path as somebody who's not done that at all. And we as organizations and schools, I think, need to work better together to make sure that there is a fast track for people who have spent 4 years learning hospitality versus somebody who has 0 education and may or may not do as well but has the same training program.
Yes.
It's a pity that we don't do a better job of collaborating with education and educators to ensure that people who have spent that much time and that much money and that much effort learning hospitality, that they should have a fast track, and I don't see it.
Right. And Ellen, you're right, and I want to segue because it was actually something Sebastian had raised when we were discussing what to chat with this morning, that you do spend a lot of money in gaining a degree, and then when you enter the workforce, it's not just the recognition and the appreciation and the decision making you may or may not be involved in, but it's the return on investment, you might say, the pay. What's your feelings about that? And thank you for being so open about that, Sebastian.
I think indeed the hospitality industry needs to recognize these professionals, because at the end, of course, they study for 4 years, they prepare through internships, and then when they reach to the real world, let's say, they are back to zero.
Entry level.
And that can be very demotivating, right? That of course you prepare yourself and you have to start again as the same as everybody, and that doesn't mean to give advantage to people, but it means to recognize that they have prepared for that position. And coming back to the work from home, I also think that, as you mentioned, it's not necessarily about working from home or not. It's about to develop a work-life balance with other means, right? We don't need to work from home in order to have a work-life balance. There can be other things that are more important, and when you come to work, you get to really be mentored by your leaders. You get to learn through vicarious experience, right? It's not the same when you start online and you just see somebody through the screen, that when you are really looking at your leaders, how they are leading their teams, how they are mentoring their people, and you see yourself that you can be there in one day. And that gives you also engagement and motivation to really keep going.
Yes. I mean, just reflecting on a fantastic conference Kempinski had about a year and a half ago, and I'll never forget the moment that all age groups jumped on the dance floor, whether they'd had a little beverage or not, it didn't matter at all. And I must say the collaboration and team building and the work that we got done after that conference as a result of this, the merging of the ages, was just incredible. But James, look, I reflect on working in a small company. You've got this much bigger infrastructure. How are you valuing this talent, this return on investment with those that have studied for the years and then they enter the workforce? How do you see that?
Well, I kind of touched on the platforms that we have to accelerate. I feel the piece that we're all working on as an industry is this coaching and mentoring. Because to Sebastian's point, if someone's invested, now clearly many, and maybe Sebastian's better position, but I can speak for myself, I didn't fall into hospitality or travel. I love travel, I had a huge passion for it, so I followed my heart, not my head. Maybe I would be in finance or something else if I did. But, there's this incredible wonder that hospitality can give you. It can feed your wanderlust and you can do different things. You can have the platforms. Where I see the magic happen is where there is great mentoring and coaching of this talent, because that is what unlocks what they need to do. And one thing that is not discussed enough is career pathing. So really understanding the individual, because it's easy to categorize, well, that's a Gen Z and this is what they want. Well, no, not really, because they also have personalities and different aspirations. Really get behind what they want. When you know what they want, how do you then career path them so they feel convinced that actually if I stick with this, I can get to here, and then I can go to here, and then I can go to here. Because that career pathing has not been as robust as it should have been in the past. Yes. So you tighten that up, and then it unlocks what you need to do. And then you can actually have conversations around remote working and working from home, where if you have a coaching and a mentoring conversation, you'll find that life's quite boring because it comes back to balance. Look, if you need to work from home because you've got something to do, then great, no problem. But if you keep doing that and you're not in the hotel or in the corporate office, depending on what role you have, you will be disconnected, you will not understand the business, and you will not grow, and you will not network, and you will not profile yourself. So that coaching and mentoring is what unlocks the talent, and I feel that may well have been missed quite a bit in the past by the industry.
And frankly, to me, all age groups can benefit from exactly the same thing. I mean, I know that every single day I'm interacting with all of the different members of the teams and cross-departmental in head office, regional offices. You know, I'm growing, so not just an age thing, but no, I totally agree. Now, I'm going to switch this up a little bit. How do you want to be recognised and rewarded beyond just the monetary and the promotions, Sebastian? I think sometimes we, of the different, let's say, generation, if you like, and different experience level in terms of being in the workforce, we think we know that answer, but I'm not sure we do. So from your perspective?
I think one of the biggest things that can be done for young talent to really recognize them is mentor them, right? Because at the end, mentoring is also giving yourself, is giving your time and offering your experience for them to learn through you. And that's, I think that's a great benefit and a great recognition that somebody is doing good and that you see passion in them and you want to foster that passion and really empower them also and delegate to them so they can really grow and flourish as a future leader. I think that's one of the key aspects of recognition that doesn't really fit into the monetary aspect, but it goes deeper than that. It gives also value and it gives a self of fulfillment, right? When you see that somebody is really interested in you and they're taking into their personal hands that you grow as a leader, that's great.
Right, and Professor, in the educational space,
Yeah,
this is what it's all about, surely.
It's a fantastic point, Sebastian, and we've done quite a lot of research around mentorship programs, and you know, our research shows that unfortunately a lot of our graduates do leave the industry, and they do leave the industry quite quickly.
Right.
You know, 3 to 5 years after graduation, it's 50% plus of our graduates are no longer in the industry, and that's a shame.
Yes.
Because these are passionate young people that have a lot of talent that have been lost. And other research we've done shows that the students that have been mentored, and we have various mentorship programs throughout their careers, throughout their degree. So when they go on their first internship, they start to get mentored by their internship partner, the hotel they're with. And the students that are mentored then throughout the rest of their degree are a lot more likely to stay. And they're a lot more likely to stay longer in the industry. So mentorship, I think, is critical because, again, it's that recognition. It's that you're being valued. And if you're being mentored, you're also being sponsored. Your career paths are mapped out for you. All of those things we've been speaking about. So I definitely agree, Sebastian. I think mentorship is vital.
Absolutely. And Ellen, there's so many leaders in the room, people that probably have had something to do with you over your career, and you've influenced their career, no doubt. But tell me, what is a couple of key takeaways for the people in this room? They're hearing mentorship, they're hearing inclusion, decision making. What else, how would you expand on that for them to take away in our last few minutes?
I think that this is not a grassroots movement. I think that every organization's leadership needs to be fully aligned with making sure that they're not losing young people. You'll be very happy to know that now that I work in asset management, I've just hired 2 graduates of the Emirates Academy because they do want to go into asset management, not necessarily hotels.
Right.
But I think just to say that the CEO's got to have, or the leader, or whoever it is, has got to make this a priority. I think in the last few years you've seen a lot of diversity from a gender perspective become quite at the forefront. I think now we need to make sure that our incentives are also measuring diversity, both age, both at the, what do they call them? Wisdom workers? I've never heard that before, but I like it.
Yeah, I like that.
And entry levels, so that there's a focus on that, because like I said, it's very easy in a big hotel company to get lost, you know. And so I would say for all of us here, make sure your top leader gets aligned to this, or get in their face about it, because they have to speak about it. They have to measure it. I think the second thing is that we do need better relationships with our universities and schools around the world. Right. I think universities need to do a better job of having us as facilitators. You know, the regulations around universities are a real problem, where you can't have a professor that's not a PhD. How many of you have a PhD?
Yeah. Well.
So, but how many of you could be fantastic trainers of young people?
Right.
So we need more of that. We need more people in the field coming in and out of our schools, so that there's a sense of reality.
Yes.
And then we need to do very good job at that grassroots level. Back to your point, James, about bringing focus and programs to make sure that young people are not forgotten.
Thank you.
That would be my three things.
No. James, just a couple of takeaways.
Diversity is critical for the health of the business. You know, I work for a hotel group that has 1,900 hotels that are coming online in the next 3 to 5 years, and if we get this wrong, we're in big, big trouble.
Yeah.
So you have to take this seriously. Platforms to accelerate talent in whatever direction is critical, but it comes to life through mentoring and support. And one comment I will talk about, which we haven't talked about on here, is who's coaching the leaders?
Yes, right. So true.
Because we could talk about it, but I've seen it so many times where there's unconscious bias.
Right.
Well, they're youngsters, so they need another 5 years in. No, no, no. How do we make sure, and we do have a platform at IHG where our young talent have an opportunity to give feedback and challenge the leadership, and not just their boss, senior leaders. Because they've got great ideas. We need to listen to them. We need to make sure that when we pull a plan together, it's a two-way conversation.
Thank you. And before I close with Professor Scott, Sebastian.
Well, from my side, I think everything has been said. The only point I would like to also make, I think, is we are focusing a lot on Gen Z, but I think everybody wants the same, right? I mean, there are a lot of managers that perhaps they would also like to get this leadership training. They would also like to be mentored by their higher-ups.
Absolutely.
I think throughout diversion, we all want the same things. We all want belonging, we all want to be recognized, and we all want to grow, whether it's just career-driven or whether it's just personal growth.
Thank you. And last words.
So obviously we've just opened Abu Dhabi Hospitality Academy down in Abu Dhabi with La Roche. So very happy to be in the region, very happy to connect with everybody in the room. And to Ellen's point, we really want to make sure that we are very well connected to our industry partners, because if we're not, then we're not serving you and we're not doing the right thing by our students. So we really look forward to working with everybody in the room as we move forward to make the industry a much better place for our young people.
Fantastic. And with that, I thank you for your attention, and I hope that was interesting. We'll see you through the breaks for further chats. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Amanda. Thank you.